welcome to the July 1st edition of News from the Front Lines of Business by DW Huff Consulting, where we help you know your numbers so that you can grow your numbers. So here we are, another half of the year has gone by, and we're just moving along very quicker by the day, it seems like. But anyway, so July 1st, starting the new second half of the year. Our fun with numbers for this week here is 410, and that is how many people we had that have viewed our latest TikTok. So that's kind of fun. We started doing a TikTok thing recently, in addition to our other social media stuff, and I'm surprised at how many people saw that preliminary test video that we threw out there just to kind of see how things worked. So that was kind of interesting. So anyway, start off for the week here. So another quiet week tax-wise, but we had a few discussions here that are kind of interesting, and one has to do with Social Security benefits. So we have, tax and finances all kind of tied together pretty well a lot of times, and the discussion came about. Client is 64 years old, so past the time where she can start taking some amount of benefit. Her full retirement age is not until 67, so keep those two numbers in mind. And the discussion is, what's the best thing to do as far as maximizing Social Security benefit? All right, so I've got this chart here, and it shows you. I know it's a little hard to see, but it shows you the kind of the differences. So that column to the left there shows you the penalty if you start taking distributions early. So we see here, if you're born after 1959, you're only going to receive 70% of your full benefit, and that's pretty bad because that's a significant drop in income there, and that goes on for there's no way to increase that. So once you elect that and you start those payments, you're kind of stuck with it, and the only increase you would potentially see might be some cost of living adjustments and things like that. So so it's definitely a bad idea just about every situation, and it's not as bad if you're a little bit older, but yeah, so it's a steep penalty. And I guess the other side note here is Social Security. We really want to think about that as more of an income insurance policy, right? So hopefully Social Security is not the only thing you're going to be relying on for purposes of of retirement income, and if it is, then you're going to be kind of very much kind of restricted here, and that's definitely going to make things kind of tight for you going forward. So hopefully you have some other savings, but income insurance, what we're really need to think about. So and naturally, we're seeing life expectancies go up where people are living to 90 plus years old on a pretty regular basis here. So we're talking about 30-ish or more years in retirement. We really don't want to have be receiving 70% of our benefit there. So so what we see in most cases that benefits somewhere around $20,000 a year in most cases, and it varies based on your earnings history. But so if you that $20,000 goes to $18,000, that's all you got. That's a decent reduction in benefit there. And then the full retirement age is that second column over here in the middle. So it kind of shows you what your full retirement age is at certain years, and we know it's going to be 67 years at least. Who knows how many more changes will take place there, but it could be even later than age 67 at some point. So that's another consideration. But once you get past that, so that's what you got to do to get the full benefit. So anything prior to your full retirement age, you can have some kind of reduction in benefit, and so we definitely don't like that because it's a steep penalty. And the alternative is wait. So if you have some other sources of income, or possibly even considering working a year or two, past your full retirement age, that benefit there. So if you're in the younger generation, you're going to get 8% per year. Now at age 70, that stops, but still, that's dramatic going the other way. When you're comparing it to the penalty for starting a few years early versus waiting 3 years, where you're going to have an additional 24% possibly added to your benefit. That's dramatic. So that $20,000 a year person is now up to 24,000. So that's a nice little chunk. 25,000. So Yeah, that's substantial. $5,000 more of annual income makes it seem kind of smart to wait a little bit. So I just throw it out there because that's a planning consideration. I used to be of the opinion that take it as soon as possible because we see all these stories about the security trust fund, Social Security trust fund being constantly depleted and run out. And but the more older I get, the more I realize that that's very unlikely. There'll be changes for sure, but we expect that this framework is going to remain in place at some level here. And waiting is definitely better unless you just really have no other options. If you can't work for some reason, you got no choice, and then you're kind of stuck with it. But if you have options, and really I think working an extra year or two is probably the better of all those options, and that's definite consideration. But it's other increases. That's another thing. So that's something that rarely gets talked about. Most people are either considering that I've talked to are considering the option of either taking it early or taking it at full retirement age, or that third choice that I just wait out a couple more years is on the table as well. So, and also we keep having discussions on housing prices, and I've seen a number of financial advisors posting YouTube clips and whatnot, taking the opinion that basically they don't see housing prices going down anytime soon. And that may or may not be true to some extent, but I'll give you this detail here. So this is Altos Research, one of our references that we do when we're looking at certain particular markets. I really like their information because this chart here shows you for any particular zip code, median price, days on the market, price increases or decreases, and whether or not things are being relisted. So I ran one quickly for my zip code here in Chalmette, Louisiana, and we see here that, and this is going back 4 weeks, but we see here that 39% of the sales that took place in the past 4 weeks were properties that had been had their initial sale price decreased. So that tends to be not exactly in line with what some of these other advisors are saying. And here in my own local market, the overcooked status it seems to be settling down. So who knows how much that's because things got overdone so badly that things are just coming back to normal. Maybe people getting a little more reasonable with their expectations, possibly. But I also just took a look because now our market is a little more conservative in low dollar amounts. So so compared to Beverly Hills 90210s. So I'm sure I'll remember that show from the 80s. So I just randomly took a zip code out there to take a look at a market that is much more overheated than ours here. And here we see the median price at $12 million. So they're definitely a far cry from our $300,000 that we see here in Chalmette. But we see a similar pattern here with price decreases. So theirs is 23%. And so that's still, I would say, significant. So, an overcooked, very volatile market like Beverly Hills also is seeing price decreases where people can certainly afford it, I would say. And our more conservative blue-collar market here is also seeing decreases. So who knows how much that's settling down and how much it's going to change the ability to buy property later. Now that interest rates are rising, but maybe if prices go down, things will equalize themselves and make it it's available to scoop up some more properties. Mid-year updates. So we know this is now that we're past June 30th. So now it's time to take a look at the mid-year stuff and kind of see where we are. So obviously tax planning is probably the biggest component of all that. So see where you are, look at your W-2s and your withholdings, and if you're not already a client, send it over to us. We could project things outwards a little bit and get an idea where you are, and if you need to adjust withholding or do estimates, that's something that's not too late to deal with, as well as doing some planning activities like maybe equipment investments and things like that. But also it's worth it. We like to do this at least once a year, but mid-year is as good a time as any to take a look at your business entities and how they're structured. So look at those LLCs and who owns them, and updating the minutes and the officers and some of those little details that kind of seem to get overlooked a lot of times. So now it's as good a time as any to kind of do a kind of comprehensive look at everything while you're doing the tax planning. And in addition to that, look at your accounting system and kind of see where you are as far as keeping up with the records. And if you need help with that, definitely get it before the year gets too far away from you, because now is the time when most accounting firms are not as bogged down with tax stuff as normal, and could probably get the bookkeeping up to date. So look at that. But we also have some other things that'll be going out to our clients via email over the next couple of days with a more comprehensive list that you should also consider. So that's about it for this week here. My thought for the week here, and nothing too stoic about this one, but it has to do with discipline and self-control. And a client discussion of mine, this guy who's been very aggressive in the past and kind of had some big wins and also some big losses. But I compare his results to a different person in my client base who is very disciplined, just gets out there and does work on a very less exciting line of work here, let's just say, and but small ball, so consistently does stuff, makes money every single week, makes small profits on a regular basis all the time, and comparing that to my home run hitter type client who is constantly trying to open up a new LLC and do something different, and sometimes he wins, sometimes he loses, but all in all, comparing these two personalities side by side, my small ball strategy seems to be better. So the discipline to get out there and do it every day versus waiting for the motivation to really knock it out the park. Who knows? But just a thought there. Discipline sometimes drives you to just do those little things every day that really can help you out. So that's it for this week, guys. Stay cool. Enjoy the rest of your summer, and we'll see you next week.